All right, Pat and Doug back with another episode of the Wealthy Fitness Entrepreneur. And today we're going to talk about the secret to their success. More specifically, we've got just a tremendous group of clients in our Boardroom program, which is like our highest level coaching mastermind program. And to start the year, it was pretty amazing. I've been running mastermind groups since about 2008. And I don't ever remember a group where universally everybody had a best year ever, a PR, whether it was revenue or profit. And then we turned around the other day at a meeting, and Doug, I know you asked, "Hey, how was your May?" And almost across the board, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, "Hey, we had our best month ever," or "We had the most profit ever," or "Hey, I had 25 $27,000 in profit," or, 6-figure month, and everybody thriving in a month that is historically a peak month in our industry, unless you're like a sports performance business,
Right.
and you're pre-selling summers. So, I think we thought it might be a fun topic to talk through. Like, what are some of the characteristics or traits that you're seeing in this group of businesses? Because frankly, it's a pretty eclectic group, right? We've got people who do, um, you know, group training. We have people who do like one-on-one and semi-private training. We have people who serve fat loss market, the over 50 market, sports performance. And we've got a pretty broad mix, and geographically they're all over the place. So what are some of the things that you're seeing in them that are kind of commonalities that have helped them continue to improve and grow pretty much month after month?
Yeah, I would definitely point out May is, in our industry, not typically a strong month, and that was really cool. Obviously, recapping the year was cool to see too, but recapping May was, it was actually surprising. I was not expecting it to be that many wins across the board. So if I look at commonalities, number one, I would say is the benefit of the mastermind is others in the group. And so not just hearing from you or I, but I know a lot of them connect outside of just our weekly calls with sharing, hey, maybe one sports performance guy will hop on the call with another sports performance business owner and share best practice. So I think before speaking to maybe individual characteristics that I see common, I would say the group collectively, if you're a part of a mastermind, making sure you take advantage of the benefit of having others in the group and sharing best practices, not only in the formal calls, but in meetings, but also kind of, offline as well. So I think we're seeing that more and more, especially as the group's been around now for a couple of years. The second thing would just be the consistency of, they've all adopted some version of a monthly marketing plan, where it's not just marketing when you need clients, or not just marketing, when you have the time to market, but making sure that, by midway through the month, they are mapping out the following month. And sure, they're, using the group to come up with what their offer is going to be or what other strategies they may need to implement. But there's not a question of if they're marketing or not. It's just the norm that every month they're going to implement some marketing plan.
Yeah, obviously both of those have been kind of front and center. I think one of the things that I've noticed that may not be as obvious to maybe the naked eye, just how they've plugged the hole. They all have gotten to be pretty adept at tracking their numbers. They've got to be pretty adept at dialing in client experience and improving things like retention. So all this stuff, it just compounds. If you have fewer people walking out the door, and even if you're getting the same number of new people, again, compound. Are raising your price, and so your rates are higher, and you're continually adding those new people, but at that higher rate. Same stuff, and I get um just the fact that nothing is really, it's not like some of the stuff that we've seen historically through the industry where people just caught a wave. And I mean, I remember when people were, riding the Groupon wave, and I mean, I had clients whose business 5x just by running some Groupons. And then, say with originally the challenges where people would run an ad and fill up a challenge by driving people to a Wufoo form, and it'd be maxed out in 2 or 3 days. And then they'll lose 20. And it's not anything like that. These relatively simple, not necessarily easy, but relatively simple systems that they install. And they're always, I don't want to say tinkering because that almost kind of like belittle the importance of what they're doing, but they're always finding areas to improve. They're kind of updating something, even if they have it in place. They're they're working on the business continually and not being kind of immersed just in the business. And it has, I mean, been pretty amazing, because I think one thing that maybe I think you prompted Melanie and Jason the other day about something they've done, or some improvements that, and it wasn't like this instantaneous surge. It was like, oh, we saw a little bit of improvement, then a little bit more, then a little bit more, then before you know it, there's a big uptick, right? And I think that's kind of been the case for a lot of them. So have there been any other things that you've seen with this group? I mean, I've got a couple more, but I don't want to just, completely steal your thunder on something.
I think, you mentioned the numbers. This is something that I've learned to kind of, when you ask somebody, a gym owner specifically, a fitness business owner specifically, if you ask them, how many clients do you have? What was your profit last month? How many leads did you generate? Some of what, in my opinion, would be for strong business operators, basic numbers to know. They're able to just spit them out without even, let alone needing to look them up, but even the ums and the ahs, they just know those numbers like the back of their hand. And so that tells me, if you know those numbers very well, you're now using the scoreboard on a weekly basis, and you're now changing your action items based on that scoreboard. So just the awareness of those numbers, I think, is huge, and something that we've seen, and there's a few folks, I think it helps to have a few folks in the boardroom group that are kind of, labeled as numbers people that, share best practices and share great spreadsheets, and, can kind of coach those that maybe aren't as thrilled by the numbers to at least get to learn them. And then the other thing that I see is everybody is constantly talking about people problems, not in a negative way, but that they know that in order to scale, in order to grow, they're going to continue to need to improve their team, and not just try to solve it themselves, not just try to, do all the work themselves. It's solving the people problems so that you can continue to delegate and elevate, and not just try to continually do it all yourself, because we know the most successful business owners have some version of a team in place.
So the only thing that I think we didn't touch on that I've noticed that is just kind of this recurring theme with all of them is they're just all engaged, right? The attendance, the mastermind meetings in person is really, really high. I mean, you can see comments like, hey, how much they prioritize this and how they schedule around it rather than just hoping it fits in their schedule. Same thing with our weekly meetings that we do. They show up to the win weeks. And I mean, I don't want to make it sound like all this stuff's just, again, overly simple, but they prioritize improving. Whereas I think average business owners kind of just prioritize the status quo. They prioritize just maintaining where they are. And if they can fit in improvement, it's fine. But these guys prioritize improving. And it shows. I mean, they have just continually up-leveled quarter after quarter, year after year. And, hopefully if you're watching this, listening, you take that to heart. It's not, looking for the grand slam. It's just the consistent singles, you know, month after month or 6 week sprint after 6 week sprint, and letting them compound and just doing the stuff that, frankly, I don't think it takes any sort of incredible talent or gift to do. It's just, man, I show up and do the thing that, frankly, most business owners won't do.
Yeah. And I think the last thing from my end would be, it can be helpful, inspiring, motivating, whatever you want to call it, if you are the kind of the low man on the totem pole in being maybe in a different room where you are maybe not the big fish. I think a lot of folks that we work with in Boardroom were maybe they were the top dog, and they, kind of got complacent, got comfortable, didn't see what the next level looked like. So once you join a group where, not hopefully in a defeating way, but there are people doing, sometimes double, triple what you do in revenue and in profit, that is motivating to, obviously you want to chase your ideal business, but at the same time, it definitely, I think, puts some hunger behind what you're wanting to level up and not be complacent with where you're at.
Very good. So hopefully some inspiring kind of secrets to their success, how a really strong group of business owners has continually improved month after month. So we'll be back again with another episode soon.